So Ollie, we were really touching on this what I feel is a significant trend in the Lightwind side of winging, and yeah, I think probably looking at the gliding shapes. I mean, what's the origin of those, and how did they make their way into winging?
Yeah, I think the board designs in general, as winging is evolving and developing, we initially came out with kind of more longer, narrow boards, and at the time they were a bit too advanced, and then it went short and wide. And now we see the trend is definitely going back to more longer boards and having that early takeoff. So a longer board is going to have more glide to get up going that much earlier. And we see that with our Ace range of boards, which are these boards here. And you can see that they're very parallel through the middle, narrow in the tail and quite narrow in the nose. And it's just a very streamlined shape that allows you to get up and flying that much earlier, and it requires less effort. So in lighter winds, it's just an easier experience.
And so, say for an 85 kilo rider in what would you recommend volume wise if he's an intermediate level rider?
I think because of the buoyancy of the foil, I would say around 100 liters, maybe 110, 115, but 100 liters is enough buoyancy with the foil to really have a nice planing size to get going.
And like typically length and width, I see that, I mean, there's two different lengths and widths now, right?
There is.
Showing here.
The board closest to you is our first Ace foil board, which is a 7.0 by 20, and that's 100 liters. And this board is a bit shorter, it's 7 foot. When you're in the air, it's a bit more agile and maneuverable. But we see that having even longer boards just again makes it that much easier to get up and flying. So this one is an 8.4 by 19,
okay.
Which having that extra length is a bit more volume, so it's 122, but being that much more slender and narrower means that you have faster glide.
And so, I mean, from my side working on the wings, like, you know, the new 3 struts, they're really stable, so they really lock in the power. I mean, you've used them and tried them, and I feel that like what we're getting from that is a lot of pumpability and a lot of like low wind stability, and I think that's what's like the whole combination together. It's like getting the board going very, like getting it moving through the water pretty early, and then like having the 3 strut design with you're able to run a shorter span, but also keep a lot of shape in the wingtips. And this is like, I think what's really driving the wing when you're trying to pump it up onto plane. And I think that's been a really interesting combination. I mean, I don't know, in Thailand, what are we using? 6 knots when we've been testing?
Yeah,
8 meters?
It's super light wind, and myself, coming not from a wind background, learning to wing in light wind is hard work. If you don't have a big wing that you can get that power,
yeah,
it's difficult. So having a bigger wing in lighter wind just makes it that much easier. And if you've got a board that has enough kind of float that you can stand on it,
yeah,
you're just going to get that going that much earlier. And yesterday I was on the 8 meter and it didn't feel like an 8 meter at all. I was so comfortable in the air. Through the turns, it carried the speed, it was stable. That was like, for me, the kind of really epic wing to use. And yeah, we test a lot in Thailand, and yeah, having a bigger wing I would always recommend, just because you have a bit more power to get you going.
It makes it really accessible. I mean, that's the kind of thing to try to communicate to people, that it's not this super difficult niche that anybody can blast out. And then, like, if you're crossing over into paddling, what would you say would be the one board? Like, again, we're looking at your average Joe 85 kilo rider. What would be the one board you would recommend to them if they wanted to wing it, they wanted to downwind it, and they maybe even wanted to paddle it up on flat water?
I would say either of these Aces, but I'd say the longer Aces, which are the new models here. Again, starting from 7.5 up to 8.4. Just having that longer glide means it's easier to get going, and especially on paddling kind of flat water, that extra length really helps you build a bit of ground speed, and then you can feel the foil wanting to kind of come up. For me, my one board quiver would be an Ace, because I can go out in downwind, I can flat water pump it,
What size are you?
For me, I can ride the very small one, which is a 15 wide, which even Benoit, who is a world champion, he was intimidated by that size. He thought that would be too small. He went out on it yesterday, and he now wants to change his order. He wants that board. It's his favourite board. And a lot of the guys here, even heavier than me, I'm 80 kilos, and some of the guys kind of 85, 90 could even get on that board and was surprised how much stable it is.
And volume-wise, again, like, I mean, I'm always thinking about the average guy, the 85 kilo guy. Would you put him on the 120 litre? Would you say if he's gonna paddle it? I mean, winging it, you can go smaller. The question for me would always be that one board quiver. If they would typically take the 122, that would be ideal.
I think so. I think again it depends on your skill level, and but this 122 litre is going to be easy to get kind of going on paddling. It's still not too wide. Again, it's 19 wide, so it's still under 20 inches. So yeah, this would be a go-to for me. My go-to would be the 17 wide, just because I've had a bit more kind of experience on it.
That would make it even easier to wing, right? So
yeah.
Just I think that's really the interesting side of like that whole Lightwind ecosystem. And then foil-wise, 85 kilo guy, 1700 foil for paddling up?
For me, I generally prefer a little bit bigger wing, just because it's a bit more stable in the air. I can get that early lift. So I prefer kind of 17. Probably the smallest for me would be 1100, but yeah, 17 is a go-to that I can get up in wing, I can get up on flatwater.
Yeah,
it's comfortable.
Yeah, so I found like even with the 7-meter 3-strut with the gliding shapes, and like a 1300 is a very nice. Like it's still because the board's got so much forward speed, you can get that very early glide out and get up onto onto foil really quickly. So I think that and that foil is very applicable, as you get a bit better, or if you're downwinding. I think from the understanding I have, like that would fit all the way in this Lightwind 7 and 8 meter ecosystem to something that people could downwind, the medium weight rider.
I think again, if you're going in a strong downwind, you can generally go in smaller foils. But if you're kind of flat water and there's maybe not that much swell, a bigger foil is always going to be easier.
And then who would you recommend the more traditional ace shapes to?
I think if you're like this one here, you can see it comes with the insert. So if you want a hybrid kind of crossover and you want to have the inserts to put straps on, then these boards, generally being a bit shorter in the air, a bit more agile when you're winging. The 7020 is still, Trev and mine, kind of one of our favourite boards. This is the
one that I've also always ridden, and I mean I personally ride with straps even when it's really light, because for tacking and everything it makes the board very easy. And then you can also lift the nose up if you need to. So I think from what we've been using, for me this 7020, the 100 litre was amazing for that super light when testing times, and also having the foot straps when you're dealing, if you are using a very big foil, like going up to the 2000s, the wider span, I feel it really helps to manage the foil, especially if you want to do more advanced maneuvers.
Exactly.
So I think that's, if a person's kind of questioning which they should go to, straps or no straps, I think, probably, from my side, the straps definitely help the stability, and I guess even for downwinding, like if you're going to use a wing sometimes, then the straps will help.
And it's interesting to know on these boards, they are great light wind, but also when we were signing off the X15, this was actually a contender. We took an ace to New Caledonia, and we were doing high wind testing with these boards. So that's, again, having those strap inserts really allows you to be locked in and just kind of have that narrow nose and overall narrow outline, and really kind of keep.
And then the narrow tail means when you lean it over, it's okay. That's super interesting.
Yeah, and I think even on the bigger takeoffs, which I know is a different range, but we found by going longer and having a bit more speed to kind of get you going, you could actually go more narrow. And we found on some boards that a longer, more narrow board was actually more stable than a short, wide board, because if you haven't got that ground speed, then you're a bit more kind of wobbly. But if you
Yeah,
have
and also
something,
the directional stability, right? Like if
Exactly.
you're just trying to go straight, which is actually quite hard when
Yeah.
you're not that experienced.
so something that gets going that much earlier, it's a bit like riding a bike. If you can get moving, you're more stable. So
Yeah.
something
Oh,
we
that's
found.
very, very interesting. Cool. I think that's our passion for Lightwind winging is pretty clear. So that's you got to try it.
Yeah, for sure.